Well, welcome to the ATX DAO Podcast. We are excited today to have a casual chat, an ATX DAO roundtable, although there are two of us today, so not quite as round, but still glad to have you. So want to welcome to the show Tom, one of our ATX DAO members, joining us in our newest cohort. Tom, welcome to the show, man.
Well, appreciate it, Luke. It's incredible to be here. Been a DAO member for a few months now, and excited to get behind the camera and chop it up for a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, and part of our podcast team as well. So we may see you on the air a little bit more than today, helping out with some other things behind the scenes. So stay tuned. Lots of stuff in the works there, but just excited to have you with us.
Yeah, greatly appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So kind of before we get into like topics, those kinds of things, I always like to kind of hear like how did you hear about ATX DAO? Like, how did you kind of want to be a part of this? Maybe even a little bit about your journey into crypto.
Absolutely. So as far as the journey into crypto, graduated school in May of 2020. I'm chilling at home, making money, working remotely. And as I'm starting to save up cash, I'm looking at YouTube videos and trying to figure out, all right, how am I going to allocate my money and try to grow this savings? And I stumbled upon a Raoul Pal video, of all people, got me into Bitcoin, which led into getting me into Ethereum. Went down the rabbit hole pretty big in 2021 and inevitably lost most of my money in 2022.
As you do. It's your crypto tuition. That's just how it works.
Absolutely. But I remember during the FTX crash in November of 22, as everything's going down, I just continued to stay tapped into the space, was super passionate about it. And I told myself, all right, this next year, I'm going to really go all in, if you will, and attend a bunch of conferences, continue to stay tapped in, listen to a bunch of podcasts. And, it ended up working out for me and been to a bunch of conferences, one of which was Permissionless, that was held here in Austin about 2 years ago. And during that time, I had heard about ATX DAO. And I was living in DC at the time, and I was thinking of moving to Austin. And I was like, all right, I love this place so much. It's a great place to be. And there's like a set community within crypto that I could join and be a part of. And so, had heard through ATX DAO before I moved out here about 1.5 years ago. And then, joined through the latest membership round a couple months ago. And, I've been getting more and more involved. And, it's great to just have some people like yourself that you can chat with and get into some nerdy conversations and be a part of. So yeah, that's a bit about my journey.
That's and that you mentioned that's actually one of the things that was just such a big moment for me when I was new to the DAO. I was like, wow, I can talk to other IRL people that are interested in this stuff. Like
Totally.
my girlfriend will allow me to talk about it at best, but she's not interested.
Yeah.
Whereas like we can talk with other folks. Like I remember I drug her along to the Bitcoin Pizza Day last year, and she was just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about at all. And it was like, it's great. It was fun. It's like, now I don't feel bad about not knowing what's going on. She introduces me to her neuroscientist doctor friends.
Yeah.
So that's always great. But that's cool. So I'm really glad that you joined for that. Did you make it to the ATX DAO party at Permissionless that year?
I believe so. Yes. And yeah, what else? I, initially right when I'd moved, there was an event. I think it was the Avalanche residency program.
Oh, nice.
So I went to that party. That was like my first month in Austin, and was able to talk to, some members there. And I was like, all right, yeah, I got to join this. So, it's been incredible. And I think one thing that's pretty underrated is there's members a part of every ecosystem.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, everyone's tied up in Ethereum land or Bitcoin land or Solana land, like a very diverse group of people with a bunch of different chains and overall experience within the space. So it's like awesome just to connect and chat with people that are like living and breathing crypto full time.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to kind of dig into that a little bit more. But kind of as you mentioned, Raoul Pal. So he's also somebody that I respect quite a bit. I listen to a lot of his content. I'm a member of Real Vision, and I think that if you're going to have somebody onboard you to crypto, I think he's probably one of the best ones that can do it, because he has such a good way of explaining things and also giving good, not investment advice, but good like mindset to think about the way that you do your investing. So I think that you couldn't have had a better person than that. I unfortunately was onboarded, fortunately and unfortunately. Like there's so many great things that came of it, but I was onboarded by Gary Vee,
Okay.
which
I love
was
Gary Vee too.
and he was great. He was great. He was super bullish on NFTs, which did not work out very well for me financially, but it got me into this space, got me so passionate about it. So I'm ever thankful for it. And again, I paid my crypto tuition in NFTs that are now worth very little.
Let's say as far as a conversation topic, speaking of NFTs, so speaking of Raoul Paul and what he envisions and the broader landscape of what NFTs embody, he talks about this social signaling of, rather than buying a BMW and flexing a BMW to show to whoever is like looking at your car in real life, if you build a social platform, they talk about like the cost, like a CPM, if you think about it in advertising, of the cost to have someone view your social status. With an NFT, it's a lot higher. Let's say someone in real life sees you drive a certain car, maybe 100 times, few hundred times, but if you're having thousands of views on your social platform, that like CPM actually increases dramatically.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of NFTs, I recently had sold some, which I had some Pythian's NFTs. I'm big within the Solana ecosystem, so I had a Pythian, I had a Tensorian, have a Mad Lad, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, why am I still holding this? And I came to the conclusion it's all right. I'm fingers crossing, like hoping money goes into these NFTs over time as Solana continues to hopefully go up. But yeah, I just came to the realization it's like, all right, if you're not really tapped into a community, and you're not getting a real benefit from like being a part of a community, like, is it really worth my investment? And maybe it's worth to just get out. So actually, like this past week, I sold a bunch of NFTs and pivoted that into some other things. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens over the coming months. But yeah, it's tough. I feel like everyone that's been in the space has lost considerable amount of money within NFTs.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it really has kind of changed my mindset and how I think of NFTs, though. I think that early on, a lot of the times, like that, if you think like, I came into the space in 2022. So like right before, like right at the top of the market. So back when everything was very valuable and I bought it at that point. But, we used to do a lot of analysis about like an ROI on things. So a lot of them would have like if they emitted tokens, then you'd figure things out with that. Or if you just thought, hey, this is going to go up in value, whether it's like a Bored Ape or something like that. That was one of the big things that people would look at. And kind of having what happened, I kind of changed my mindset on it. I think of the community as the main reason that I'd want to hold one, or if I truly just like the art. Sometimes people will say they like the art and they don't like the art. They just think the art's going to be more valuable.
Totally.
But I think that like there's certain ones that I'll always hold them because it's part of my identity in some ways. So I think of like my VFriends NFTs, like it. So I own a helpful hippo, and I have some other ones that are VFriends Series 2, and I'll never sell them because it's just part of like, I like being a part of VFriends. I like going to VCon. I like some of the things that Gary does and things like that. And then some of the other communities I'm in too are kind of like that, where it's like, but I have to buy them not thinking, okay, I'm going to flip this for more. It's more of like, do I want to be a part of this group? And that's generally how I think of it now. So I don't buy very many anymore. It has to be really like, okay, this is something I want to be a part of. So I'll do it.
Yeah, speaking of communities, I'm a big fan of Links DAO. I've been a part of that NFT community for years, and I recently started buying some and gifting them to friends because they put on all these amazing in real life events. And rather than just being myself, I'm trying to, tag and bring my friends along and get into go to some of these events with me over the years. So yeah, I think if you're not in an NFT to like really immerse yourself within a community, have those IRL experiences, like it's really difficult to make money on NFTs as an investment unless you're going after those blue chip NFTs, right? Like the Bored Apes, the Pudgy Penguins. And we'll see what happens as far as having some of these blue chip NFTs get into ETFs and potential institutional money that comes in. But yeah, the further you go down the risk curve within NFTs, it's a dangerous game and you start thinking of it as an investment.
Yeah. I do miss those days though. Like it was an exciting and fun time. Like NFT Mint Day, that was like a whole thing. Like
Yeah.
there was just like excitement around it. People would be grinding to get whitelist to be on there. It was a fun time. I do miss those days. I think they were a little bit taken over by meme coins, although now it's just kind of meme coins is a whole other thing. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting in 2024 with the pump fun, meme fun craze, which honestly has still been going on. I'm not sure if you've been following some of these pump fun numbers over
No.
the past month. There was actually speaking of Blockworks, a Blockworks podcast that was on this recently, and they're talking through some of the revenue numbers, and they're making like 1.5, $2.5 million a day, and that's going directly to buying back the token. So it's like 100% of revenue is going back to buy this token. It started pumping significantly more. They've announced different streaming services, and I was seeing a tweet that was going viral of this guy apparently quit his job to go stream full time on PumpFun.
Really?
Had no existing audience, and apparently within the first week has made close to $15,000
Wow.
because they're like really incentivizing streaming as this like top of funnel mechanism. It's like, all right, you're gonna have these creators, they bring in their friends, and you can like watch these streams without having to buy the token. But they have the chart that's like directly beneath the stream. So you'll scroll down a little bit and you'll be like, all right, what is this? Like this token or whatever. And you'll have all these Gen Zers that are in the chat trying to pump up the price. But it's like a really unique mechanism. Now you talk about real businesses and real revenue. I know PumpFun is the fastest growing business to $1 billion in revenue, like crypto or not. So there's like some real fundamentals within Pump. May or may not have sold some NFTs to buy some Pump. Sort of like the broader framework of my thinking within Pump is like, all right, I don't want to bet on specific tokens. That's not the game I want to play, but I do believe in owning the underlying casino, whether that's Solana or whether that's Pump, especially as you think prices will likely go up over the coming months as we enter a rate cutting cycle. That online degeneracy likely picks up. It's a way to express that bet. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
I think it's a smart move. It's kind of like they say, you don't make money mining for gold, you make money selling the shovels.
Yeah.
So
the NVIDIA play, it's it's really interesting. But yeah, I've been seeing some tweets from the founder, and they've been a lot more outspoken in trying to incentivize real creators. And I have some friends that are actual content creators in real life. And unless you have a substantial audience, it's really difficult to make a living unless you're working with different brands. We all know like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, you'll pay, 1% of revenues to creators of the profit that like these big tech platforms make. And Pump's like inverting that. They're like, all right, we're going to give a lot of this money to creators and sort of incentivize this action. So yeah, I think it's important to keep an eye on Pump. We'll see what happens over the coming months.
Yeah, it's been interesting to kind of follow some of the different streaming platforms that are out there. So, Abstract was a big one that people were all going to for a while. Pump, there's one called Blaze that's launching on Avalanche pretty soon. And then just so many other ones as well. So just be interesting to see, like, does one of those start to kind of dominate the space, or is there enough, room in each ecosystem for that to be like, okay, if you're on this chain, this is the one you use. If you're on that chain, you use a different one. So just be interesting to see how that kind of plays out.
Yeah. It's it's hard to express that bet, but I do think, just as far as where we're at within the cycle, likely getting rate cuts starting next week. I think currently we have 3 25 basis point cuts through the end of this year. And, as money starts flowing out of the money market funds and down the risk curve, crypto is likely to do well, particularly on the back of all these digital asset treasury companies, right? So within this past week, we've seen Solana with 1.65 billion from Jump and Galaxy, and Kalsamani is now getting involved. We saw Athena with a $500 million raise for, I believe, Stablecoin X. I saw I believe a Doge, a Bonk, and Avalanche get announced this week as well. So I know CT loves calling these top signals on all of these digital asset treasuries, but I actually don't think we're anywhere near the top. I think we're just going to keep on going down the risk curve, and you're likely to see a bunch of like tail end alt L1s that start getting DATs. Yeah, I don't think this train is stopping anytime soon.
Yeah. No, it's been really interesting this week just to kind of see like what all has happened with that. Even across ecosystems too. So like you mentioned, like Avalanche has had an announcement with that as well. And as a result, some of the real popular meme coins have had huge pumps. There's one, like there's a couple that have like tripled in just the last couple of days that are long-standing ones that have been around for, months. It's not like they were brand new. So it's like, dang it, I wish I could have held a little bit more of those tokens. I didn't. But yeah, it's just been interesting to see how that's been. And I think it's good. I mean, I like the mindset that, other tokens besides Bitcoin can be worthy of a treasury like that. So yeah, it's been great to see.
Yeah, it's over the past 5 years since Saylor announced, the MicroStrategy playbook, it's been the highest performing stock over the past 5 years, and Bitcoin doesn't have any real revenues. And I know for years, crypto Twitter's talked about, all right, well, if we can have these digital asset treasury companies with a yield bearing asset like an Avalanche, like a Solana, like an Ethereum, that makes a lot of sense for Wall Street to tap into. And I think Tom Lee has been a great vehicle in sort of preaching and speaking the language of Wall Street to share that message of Ethereum. And I think we're now going to start seeing that with Kal Samani and Solana. I think we're going to start seeing that with some of these more Altel ones. And yeah, it was funny. I was listening to a Luca Netz interview, the CEO of Pudgy Penguins, and he was saying that dozens of companies are approaching him to have a Pangoose treasury strategy.
Really?
So I know this past week Bonk was announced, like Doge is getting announced, but yeah, apparently Pangu is on the way as well. So
dang it! And yeah, where was this information like 2 weeks ago? I've had some Pangoofs, like I got some of the airdrop, and I had a little bit more besides that as well. But I might not have as much as I did anymore.
Yeah.
I was pivoting into some other things. So yeah. So what? So you mentioned Solana ecosystem. Is that where you spend a lot of your time, or do you have other? Where's your kind of main space, and then what other things do you kind of dabble in?
I would say the big bet this cycle has been Solana, but I've been pivoting out of Solana and trying to get more into the weeds of the Sui ecosystem, trying to get more into the weeds of Avalanche, some of these more like revenue generating tokens like Pump, for example, Hyperliquid. Athena, I think everyone's trying to express a stablecoin view following Circle's madness with their IPO over the summer. So honestly, I've been a bit all over the place, just trying to learn as much as possible. But yeah, lately I'd say Hype, Athena, Sui, and a bit of PumpFun as well.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I think those are pretty similar to the ones that I at least try to track or stay connected with. I think that the Sui one is Raoul Paul is the reason that I'm even aware that they exist and that kind of thing. But they have some cool stuff. They're actually part of the partner network for ATX DAO, which is great. We've had some folks from them come onto the show before, and some cool stuff that they've done with their gaming system too. So they just launched the SuiPlay, which is a handheld gaming system similar to like a Steam Deck or something like that.
Yeah. Have you been able to play it yet?
I have. So not a ton, not as much as I would like to.
Yeah, those late nights.
it has been quite a busy time for me personally. So we've launched a couple of things with Avalanche Team 1. And then we're also moving here within Austin. So it's been a little bit of a busy time, but I hope at some point in the future I can start to play because I don't have a PC. So this is now like my first ability to play certain games. Like as a Mac user, you're kind of left out in the cold when it comes to Web3 gaming. So now I'll be able to do that, which is great. And one of the things I think is cool with the SuiPlay in particular is it's not locked into only Sui games. You can play anything on that or anything that's like eligible for it. So I think that's great. So there's that. I also pre-ordered the Solana one too because it looks like a Game Boy. It seems like fun to have.
Yeah.
I don't think I've read if it's going to play games that are not Solana games. But either way, I'm sure it'll be fun, easier to carry around. I think it's a lot smaller. So
yeah, they'll have some airdrops. And speaking of which, in Web3 devices, I just got my Seeker yesterday. Finally,
oh, nice.
Took a year and a half since I pre-ordered that bad boy, but finally
you
arrived.
Have it with you?
And I freaking wish I brought it. But no, it's first impressions though. It's way lighter than the previous version. Screen looks great. Cameras, decent. I don't know if it'll be the day-to-day carry, but I'll definitely be getting Helium Mobile on that, and excited to test out Helium and hopefully have that become part of my iPhone and what I'm carrying day to day. So yeah, really excited to play around with that a little bit more.
That's cool. Yeah, I speaking of Helium, I had looked into them a while back. So I used to live downtown, and so I thought, oh, that's great. Like this is before they launched mobile. It was just the
Hotspot.
Yeah, well, yeah, the hotspots and it's IoT.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just like other different random things. And based on where I lived, I thought, oh, I'm gonna just like rake in the tokens
Yeah.
living here.
Yeah.
And then I checked. They have these little hexagons of like where you're at, and there were 54 in my little hexagons. Like,
Oh,
okay, I'm
man.
gonna get nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know who else is like cornering the market in downtown West Austin, but yeah, that was a big spot there. But maybe in the new place that we moved to, we'll have some opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I was reading a bit about Helium this past week, and I saw that they're starting to buy back like 100% of revenue, I believe, as well.
Hmm.
So we're living through the revenue meta right now, which is refreshing to see, and started bringing back some fundamentals into these crypto assets. And just scrolling through the top 100 coins, living and breathing this crypto space as we do, it's like scrolling through some of these coins, I'm like, I have no idea what these things do.
Yeah.
And they're in like the top 50, right? And it's like, I don't know, like Pump, for example, the highest grossing, the fastest product to reach $1 billion in revenue. And it's like 75th or something
Wow.
within the top 100 coins. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I don't know. It's but your point, like it is so I use like CoinMarketCap for most of my like tracking of things just because it's a good tool for that. They do not sponsor the podcast, so use it at your own desire.
Yep.
But I'll look at it and like some of the things in there, like what even is this? Like why does so many people hold this token? And it's just part of the nature of crypto Twitter is that you get put in these silos based on who all you follow, and if you follow a lot of people in one ecosystem, you can't see it. But yeah, it is hard to kind of get a sense of what all those are.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll I don't know, we'll see. Maybe if enough DAT vehicles get raised, those start pumping as well. But yeah, I mean, exciting times. I feel like we literally just lived through DAT summer. I think we're really on the precipice of this, it feels like every other week the SEC is coming out with a new announcement as far as being more regulated and friendly towards the crypto industry. So yeah, it's like just such an exciting time, and definitely some bright times ahead as we enter into this rate cutting cycle.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do want to talk a little bit about stablecoins. I don't think we've really talked about that on the show too much.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Circle previously. So obviously they're launching their own chain.
Yep.
But then also like there's more and more of them that are starting to come out there. So the Wyoming stablecoin, which is now called Frontier, is now out. What I'm curious about is like, to me, I've always kind of just gravitated toward one. I won't say which one that I usually use, but never really kind of grasped like, okay, why would somebody hold USDC versus USDT versus any of those kinds of things? And now that there's all these other players, including financial institutions, are talking about doing that as well as soon as they're, through all their hurdles in that, it just makes me kind of wonder, like, what's going to be the motivation for someone to hold one versus another? Is it trust in the institution? And assuming they're all trustworthy, like, what's really going to be the differentiator there? So, and it also kind of reminds me back to like years and years ago before we were born, US dollars used to actually not say like the treasury on them. It used to say the bank that they were issued from. So you could have a Wells Fargo dollar or a Bank of America dollar, and it would say it on the bill. And then it was kind of like it is in England, where you can get English pounds versus Scottish pounds. But it's just was different. So I don't know, is that kind of the way that we're going, where you'll start to they'll all be considered one and the same. It's just this one happens to have a FRNT on it because it's a Wyoming dollar, or you might get a Wells Fargo dollar or whatever. Just curious, like your take on that and just stablecoins in general.
Absolutely. So let's see, from a bird's eye view, stablecoins currently $275 billion issued, I believe. I know the Treasury Secretary Bessent has talked about increasing that from, a few hundred billion up to a few trillion over the coming years. So I do think that we're still in the very early stages of what is likely to see trillions of dollars flow into these stablecoins. As far as what that looks like, it's difficult for me to envision a world in which each bank does not start issuing their own stablecoin. I think JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they're all going to be tapping into this market. There was these charts going around as far as Tether being one of the highest grossing products with like a dozen or so team members, and they're making, billions of dollars a year. So yeah, I think everyone is seeing that growth, seeing that free cash flow, and they're going to want a piece of that. So yeah, I think USDC, there's going to be a lot of competition. Um, and we'll see what happens. But I think it's going to be a competitive environment over the coming years ahead. And a lot of players are going to be getting involved.
Yep. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting times for sure. And yeah, I'm just curious if we'll ever get to a point where they just like, so let's say you're making a purchase. Do you have the ability to use like a combination of them at some point? Like, let's say you hold a few, and can you just pay in like, mixtures of them, or is it still going to be like today where you got to do it, convert into one and then pay in the one? But yeah, super interesting. Or maybe there's like a wrapped version that you can wrap everything and just consider it
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah, I think over time, these banks within their mobile apps, I think you've seen it, start to see it with PayPal. I think these banks are going to take that same playbook within their mobile app. Um, and so they'll starting to be issuing these stable coins. And yeah, I think that's a problem that will be interesting to see how that plays out as far as all these different variations of USD, whatever. Um, so yeah, it's, I don't know, exciting times ahead. And I'm, funny enough, I was at this event this past weekend, like farmers market for hot sauce. There was a hot
hmm.
sauce festival here in Austin.
Oh, dang. I
Um,
wish I would have gone to that.
it was in the rain,
Ah,
so it wasn't optimal. But anyway, as I'm going around and walk around all these vendors, consistently I'm seeing we prefer cash. We don't want to give the banks more money on these transaction fees.
yeah.
I'm seeing that consistently with the signage that's there. And part of me is like, oh, do I really want to bring out my innate crypto, enthusiasm and say, oh, you should accept stablecoins. And I feel like over the coming years, we're really going to start to see the point where it makes sense for these businesses. It's like, all right, I don't care about your credit card. Cash is great, but let's accept stablecoins
Yeah.
to remove that friction and remove those high transaction fees. So, yeah, like all these small businesses, I know just get eaten up with all these high transaction fees. Um, so yeah, I excited for stablecoins to disrupt these payment systems.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing. So we had some guests on the show earlier this year. I think it would have been around January. So Excova, which is a project in Avalanche. So Chris and Candace are the founders of it, and they seek to tackle exactly that. So they have a product it's a white label product. So they have theirs, which is Excova, but anybody can launch it. And basically, you can pay in stable coins as easily as you can send a Zelle transaction, a Venmo transaction. Fees are very low. On ramping and off ramping are easy. You just link a debit card basically, and it just makes it super easy and that kind of thing. So I think more and more of that's going to come, and it won't come without that abstraction that you have, because nobody's setting up a wallet and getting a seed phrase going and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff at a farmer's market. But
yeah,
they might do it if they can just send you an email with the funds in it. So
yeah. Trying to take away some of that complexity. I think all of us can agree. Just from again from like a bird's eye view, we have as far as daily active wallets, maybe tens of billions globally,
yep,
and there's 5 billion people with smartphones around the world. So doing the math, we're less than 1% of the what I believe will be the total addressable market for crypto applications and payments moving forward. And it's still like too complex. And I know a lot of work has been done to try to simplify that process. I know previously we had talked about abstract and being able to create a wallet. It's very Web2 friendly. You log in with your email, you get a code, a wallet's generated for you. It's very simple. But over time, uh, getting that abstracted away as much as possible and being able to make it as friendly as possible for normal people to log on and not have 50 different chains within Ethereum that they need to be aware of, is exciting. So, yeah, again, early days.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's definitely coming to your point. So you mentioned PayPal earlier. Like, I think we know they're going to do that.
Yep.
So, and little alpha for anybody that doesn't already do this. If you want to know what certain companies are doing to innovate, look at their job postings and you can get a sense of, are they going to do something? So PayPal recently had a global head of crypto marketing position
Oh, nice.
posted. I think it's closed now. I think they filled the position. But it's like, okay, they're getting ready to do a lot of stuff in crypto.
Yep.
So it's kind of like like reading like Ethereum proposals or like proposals in whatever chain you're in. If you want to see like where the edge is going to be, like go into the weeds and read the GitHub, go onto the website, see what the companies are doing, and you can kind of get a sense of, are they kind of pivoting or expanding into a certain area.
Yeah. Speaking of proposals this past week, have you been following any of the Hyperliquid stablecoin proposals that have been tossed around this past week?
I haven't. So I gotta admit, so I know of Hyperliquid, but I don't know much. So I would love for you to kind of give me the rundown on Hyperliquid, because it's like the token price I definitely have noticed, but from a ecosystem, tech, any of that kind of thing, I don't know a lot. So I'd love you to kind of catch me up to speed, and then we can talk about the proposal too.
Sure, absolutely. So Hyperliquid, and for the listeners, I would definitely recommend a piece made from Ryan Watkins at Syncracy Capital, I believe. He has a great piece, basically sharing the current version of Hyperliquid and what's to come. So ultimately, they want to become an everything exchange from perps, options, stocks, equities, crypto, of course. And right now, they're crushing it on perps, the market leader within perps. They're making, I forget the revenue numbers off the top of my head, but making a ton of money. And they're using all that revenue to buy back the token. I believe they're making like 3 million-ish a day.
Mm.
And that's like 97% of that is going back to buy back the token. And, as we start getting more and more friendly legislation and, an SEC, you'll likely be able to start buying these stocks on chain through Hyperliquid. So yeah, as far as like where they are today, they're making $3 million a day. And I know a lot of traders love them because they have a great user experience. But over time, like they're going to become the everything exchange, and they'll have more competitive prices than Coinbase or whatever, Robinhood that you currently use. And so I know a lot of traders are a big fan of Hyperliquid.
All right. So what you're saying is I need to, one, read the article you just mentioned, which we will link in the show notes as well, but maybe devote some of my attention over there.
I mean, I wish I've devoted more attention myself. Because I remember it was like maybe 6 months ago. And I was like reading this piece. I was like, wow, like this is really interesting. But I was like, oh, I don't know where to buy this thing,
Yeah.
right? Like a total newbie in the space. I was like, oh, like it's not listed. I was having like trouble finding on these various dexes. I was like, all right, maybe another time, put it off. And then, price is up 5x since then. And I'm just like, I knew this was going to crush it. Like I'm an idiot.
Yeah. It always happens.
Yeah.
But no, cool. Yeah. So I will definitely do that. But yeah, anything else that you're kind of tracking or that you're kind of interested in, like stuff for the near future kind of stuff that you think is interesting?
Yeah. I think just pivoting back to the conversation as far as DATs, I'm very interested in listening to founders as they're preaching about, these potential DATs that are incoming. So I saw, again, Luca Netz had been talking about this, and he was saying there was overwhelming like money that's coming into this, right? He said dozens of companies that are approaching him with, hundreds of millions of dollars of capital. And so yeah, I'm just like trying to front run, these Wall Street institutions, I suppose, and listening to a bunch of these founders. So yeah, I've heard some exciting things about Pengu, about PumpFun. Solana's been crushing it recently. Avalanche has a lot of money incoming. So yeah, just try to position myself ahead of Wall Street, and fingers crossed, the Tom Lee effect will take place for these ecosystems.
All right. I love it. So listeners, you heard it first. Put at least half of your net worth into Pengu. Tom has promised you will get at least 100x what you put in. No, just kidding.
I mean,
So non-financial advice. That was just a joke. Do not put all your net worth in Pengu unless you know something we don't.
yeah, not NFA, but yeah, I mean, it was funny enough. 2 years ago when I was at Permissionless in Austin, I was chatting to some random guy that I struck a conversation with and asked a very open-ended question of like, all right, what NFT communities are you a part of? Like anything that's like currently capturing your mind? And he had mentioned Pudgy Penguins. And I was like, all right, like it's a penguin. It's cute. All right, sure. And then, it was like 2 ETH at the time. Now it's, I don't know, 10, 12, whatever it is, got up to 20. So I guess one lesson I've learned within crypto is always learn to take that extra step, dig a little bit further, dig into any ecosystem that you think other people are talking about, and, do the work yourself. think that's part of how you grow your understanding and be open-minded, and staying curious, I think, is how you succeed within the space.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think like dedicating the time to understand things, like look at different signals and just really kind of dig in, I think is the way to go. Yeah, blindly buying something because you saw it, you know, pop up on like with a nice green candle
No,
on your tracker is not the way to do it. Sometimes it works out, but probably more times than not it doesn't.
absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, Tom, this has been great. So really enjoyed having you on the show. We'll definitely have you on a lot more.
Yeah.
But really appreciate the time, and yeah, we'll chat more.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fun.